Here's your wrestling news for October 17th, 2021. And your headlines for today include Callis mocks Roman Reigns for drinking Kool-Aid after negative AEW comments, former UFC heavyweight champion calls out Roman Reigns over AEW roster comments, why Roman Reigns had an altercation with Vince McMahon backstage, Max Caster takes huge shot at NXT after AEW Dynamite, WWE discussing 3 big names to feud against Edge, huge backstage altercation or disagreement between Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon and Bruce Prichard, Seth Rollins takes a dig at Jon Moxley and Bray Wyatt no longer being with WWE, WWE versus AEW Twitter war, and more. We're kicking off today with Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who took some major shots at AEW this week, saying he doesn't see the company as competition to him. On Twitter, Callis took a swipe at Reigns, saying that it must have been free Kool-Aid Day at the Stamford Supermax, implying that the Universal Champion is accepting whatever Vince McMahon says and comparing WWE to prison. Callis didn't stop there as he mocked a line in the interview where Reigns discussed the loyal AEW fanbase as built-in ground, and Callis, not understanding the line, said that Reigns needs Paul Heyman to help with promos. Callis is no stranger to speaking his mind, but won't be changing Roman Reigns' attitude to AEW, as those in Tony Khan's company aren't keen on someone from another promotion mocking their show. Callis isn't the only name to be mad at the Tribal Chief, who didn't hold back about even the biggest names in AEW. In that interview with Complex, the reigning Universal Champion took aim at CM Punk, saying, "I don't think anybody really believes someone 200 pounds soaking wet with no explosive bone in their body could ever really do anything to me. I'm 6'3", 265 pounds, a legitimate athlete who can throw some weight around and has been on the gridiron at the highest level. D1, all ACC. I probably would have maintained in the NFL if my health issues didn't happen when I was 22 years old. So I mean, when it comes down to it, I'll throw him and pretty much the rest of that roster out the club, no problem. They're just little brothers, you know?" On Twitter, former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos responded after making his in-ring debut for AEW earlier this week. In a tweet, Dos Santos laid out the challenge, asking Reigns for the address of the club he promises to throw him and his little brothers out of. Dos Santos made his debut on this week's Rampage, teaming with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky to defeat the Inner Circle, and the former UFC heavyweight champion won't stand anyone talking trash about his new promotion. Roman Reigns has made plenty of enemies in AEW with his comments, but it's hard to deny his success, especially over the past year. Aside from a few hiccups, Reigns has been the embodiment of good storytelling, great in-ring work, confidence on the mic, and having the feel of a top name. But the road to the Tribal Chief hasn't been easy. Sitting down with Bleacher Report, the Universal Champion discussed a major disagreement he had with Vince McMahon all over his new entrance music he debuted in April this year. These disagreements led to the new theme being delayed until after WrestleMania 37, as he told Bleacher Report that he wanted to create the iconic feel, and that's why the theme opens with orchestral music before transitioning into something Reigns could vibe to. He adds, "Me and the big man, Vince McMahon, weren't agreeing on a couple of things, so I was like, screw it, I'm not going out to it now. I have to feel it because nobody outside of my cousins and Paul is walking out to that. To me, these are the types of things I have to 100% be connected to." We have to applaud Reigns for sticking to his vision for the character and not going out with a theme he wasn't completely happy with, as the new theme has only helped boost his image as the unquestionable top star in the entire WWE. More from AEW, as Max Caster is known for his controversial freestyle raps as he makes his way to the ring, and that was certainly the case after this week's Dynamite went off the air. In a post-show segment, Caster came out to complain about not being booked for Dynamite and threatened Tony Khan, saying the Acclaimed will beat you just like we beat NXT in the ratings. This got a loud pop from the crowd, and Caster didn't stop there as he took a shot at Top Dollar of Hit Row, who dropped a diss track earlier this week after a social media beef with the Young Bucks over sneakers. The crowd reacted like you'd expect an AEW crowd to react at yet another jab at Vince McMahon's company, and although we're not sure if this rap will ever see the light of day on AEW TV, it was a special moment for the live crowd, despite AEW's opposition to WWE's Tribal Chief trashing them to Complex. Back to WWE, as next Thursday, Edge will end his feud with Seth Rollins, as the pair will settle things once and for all inside Hell in a Cell. The match at Crown Jewel has been a long time coming, especially after Rollins invaded the home of the Hall of Famer, but WWE is already looking ahead. According to reports, WWE are currently weighing up Edge's next feud, with Raw's Karrion Kross being one of the favorites to next feud with the 11-time former world champion. Kross has been on a roll as of late following a shaky main roster call-up and has flattened veterans such as Jeff Hardy and John Morrison. The idea of the former NXT champion taking out veterans would be a huge part of the story with Edge, but he's not the only possibility. Another name circulating as Edge's next opponent is Finn Balor in what would be a clash of styles between the two different generations of wrestling. On this week's SmackDown, Balor qualified for the King of the Ring finals, which is scheduled to take place at Crown Jewel, the same show as Edge's return to Hell in a Cell to face Seth Rollins. Should the Prince become the King, he'll no doubt want to compete against the very best on Raw. And with both men drafted to the Red brand this week, it makes sense that WWE are considering a huge feud between the two former world champions. Another idea being weighed up is Edge vs AJ Styles, a dream match that fans have wanted to see for years, long before the Phenomenal One's WWE debut in 2016. WWE are already sowing the seeds of this match, as if Styles and Omos lose to RK Bro as expected, then this could mark the end of their on-screen partnership, and a newly single Styles could feud with Edge. A match between the two would be worthy of any pay-per-view and could be a show stealer for WrestleMania 38, and time will tell whether Edge tangles with a fresh name looking to make an impact on Raw, the next King of the Ring, or a veteran in a dream match fans have wanted for a very long time. Next Thursday, Brock Lesnar will look to dethrone Universal Champion Roman Reigns in the pair's first match in over 3 years. Both men are very different from their last match at SummerSlam 2018, and it's been reported that their match will end in an interesting way. The match may end interestingly, but that doesn't mean WWE knows what the finish will be yet, as according to sources, the company is currently discussing options for how to end what will presumably be Crown Jewel's main event. Sources also report that Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon have had a huge argument backstage over the finish, one that producers outside the offices could hear, and that McMahon later had Bruce Prichard argue on his behalf with Heyman. We don't know which of the two plans Heyman is inclined towards, but the first possibility is that the special counsel proves his loyalty to the tribal chief. Heyman sided with Reigns on the August 28, 2020 SmackDown and has served as the champ's special counsel, and has been working with the Usos as part of the Bloodline. This proposed plan is for Heyman to prove that he's all in with the Bloodline, and all he needs to do is raise Reigns' hand after the match with the Universal Championship. Speaking to Inside the Ropes recently, Heyman doted on the head of the table, saying, "The one human being that I know of that was willing to take on that impossible impossibility is Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns is so obsessed, consumed with, desirous of becoming the absolute greatest of all time. Undisputed, uncontroverted in that designation. He yearns for greatness every micro moment that he's on camera. He needs it. He lusts for it to such a degree that it inspires me." In kayfabe, Heyman knows Lesnar's strengths and weaknesses, and this could prove to be vital should WWE go with this option. The other option WWE is considering is for Roman Reigns to lose via disqualification, meaning he'd retain the Universal title at Crown Jewel. We've seen multiple times that the Usos aren't afraid to help their cousin, as they attacked Finn Balor at Extreme Rules 2021 in the Extreme Rules match that closed the show. Unlike the Balor match, interference next week will result in a disqualification, as will if Reigns uses any weapon, such as a chair, to assault Lesnar. Getting disqualified on purpose may be a dud way to end the pay-per-view, but a post-match brawl could send the crowd in Riyadh home happy, as well as set up future matches. With WWE wanting this rivalry to continue after Crown Jewel, this finish ensures it'll continue, and that rumored WrestleMania match could be cemented if Reigns takes the easy way out next week. Both options have their strong points, and we're not sure which side Heyman is on, but it appears that Roman Reigns will leave Riyadh as Universal Champion one way or another. On the latest edition of Talking Smack, Seth Rollins lived up to the name of the show, promising to force Edge out of WWE at Crown Jewel. In the interview, Rollins mentioned that his Hell in a Cell track record is quite polished and said he can make anyone disappear with a very interesting line. He said, "I'm going to reiterate what everybody knows. Edge is afraid of me. He thinks he has it covered, but look, he doesn't have it covered. In fact, I've actually spent more time inside the cell than Edge has, and I'm capable of being more dangerous inside the cell than he is." Look, if you don't believe me, you can just ask the guys that I've been in the cell with. Oh, that's right, 2 out of the 3 of them aren't here anymore. Ha! This 2 out of 3 line is referencing Jon Moxley and Bray Wyatt, both of whom have faced Rollins inside the cell, and both of whom have since left WWE. So far in this feud, Rollins and Edge have had a victory each, with the Hall of Famer getting the win at SummerSlam, whilst Rollins evened the score with his win at the Super SmackDown in Madison Square Garden last month. It's interesting that Rollins would refer to Moxley and Wyatt, albeit without saying their names, and we'll have to see if the former Universal Champion keeps his promise next week as he ends the career of the Rated R Superstar. And we're ending today with the ongoing war between WWE and AEW, as both companies claim to be very different to the other, but that's not the case on social media. This week, both companies posted shockingly similar media posts, as the AEW Twitter account said that they'd increase the size of Daniel Bryan's beard for every 300 likes before Rampage. Around the same time, WWE shared a photo of Sami Zayn, saying they'd increase the size of his hair for every 250 likes, and while the post got a lot of likes, some replied saying that WWE was ripping off AEW's idea. We can't say whether WWE saw AEW's tweet and ripped it off, but the timing is interesting, and let us know what you think in the comments. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.